Hey, all you Collabcast listeners. This is Captain Dave Jackson coming to you from an absolutely sunny Hendersonville, Tennessee, part of Nashville. There is not a cloud in the sky. It's the bluest skies we have here in Tennessee. It's absolutely crazy. And today I'm recording with a young man that I say young, which is a relative term, of course, but quite experienced in his own right. Mr. Ryan Hanley from the great state of New York. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Dave, it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to spend this time with you. I don't know that you can put the great state of New York. I don't know if you can use that precursor anymore. There are great people here, but unfortunately, there's been a particular class of leadership for a particular period of time that has made it very difficult to enjoy this state as much as it should be. There is I love the state that you're coming from. One of my favorites, some of my favorite people, just the type of people, the way they live. I love Tennessee. And I used to feel very similar about this state, but it is a beautiful place. And somehow at the end of October 25th, when we are recording this, it is almost 70 degrees here, which is crazy. So after we're done recording, I'm going to go outside and probably make the rest of my business calls while I'm walking or somewhere in the sunshine, because we won't get many more of these.
So you won't trick or treat this weekend with jackets on?
The other thing, it was 37 yesterday, so we never know. This time of year is adventurous, you can say. You have to be ready for anything.
Yeah, we have 78 and sunny today. It's almost picture perfect. Yeah. So cool. Well, I was going to say, New York, don't give it such a bad bash. COVID really sent you guys down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry about that. You know, your governor and all that. But now we're past all that, so you can be called the great state again. So I think. But, you're the one there. There are great people living in New York. I have a lot of good friends.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
Cool. So thanks again for coming on. I want our listeners to learn a little bit about Ryan. I know most of your close friends call you Hanley. How'd that start? How'd everybody start calling you by your last name? Because that happens to me too.
Dude, it's this has been my entire life. I don't know every sports team, every community in every regard of the word community that I've been part of, eventually everyone just starts calling me Hanley. I don't know why. It's just been a thing for my entire life. And I didn't really think too much of it until I became like a little more of an adult, and you start moving communities, right? Like I had friends in DC, and then I lived in New York for a while, and then I moved back home, and then insurance communities, and just, it starts out as Ryan or whatever, and then eventually over a period of time, everyone just starts calling me Hanley. I prefer it. I don't really love Ryan. I like Rye. I'll take Rye or just dude or whatever. I'm not super formal, but unless I coach you, and then I don't want to be called Ryan. I want to be called Coach. But it ends up being Hanley for some reason, and I like it. It doesn't bother me, and it's all good.
Huh. That story I did not know. I'm not going to call you Rye, just so you know. That seems like your inner circle or family. That seems really close. It's Hanley for you people. So let it all hang out, right? Well, you're not from the great state of New York, right? Born and raised?
No, I am. So I've always lived in New York, but a lot of people get confused because I'm such a big Buffalo Bills fan. Right. They assume that I'm from Buffalo. So my family, I guess I'm the third generation of Hanleys in my line in the United States. My great-grandfather, so I'm fourth. My great-grandfather came over here in the second potato famine, met my grandmother. Actually, both sets of my grandparents on both sides met each other in the line at Ellis Island, coming here from Ireland. And then both sets moved to Buffalo because they were recruiting Irish immigrants at that time out of New York to Buffalo to the steel plants, because there were like 6 or 7 steel plants at the time in South Buffalo. So then that's how my parent, those lineages come down to ultimately my mom and my dad meeting each other, which is really interesting. So my entire family, I have like 30 plus Irish Catholic cousins that live in South Buffalo still for the most part. And that's where the Buffalo connection comes from. I'm literally the only one in my family to not have been born in Buffalo. My mom was pregnant with me, and my dad got a job for the railroad. He was a railroader. And while she was pregnant, he got a promotion, and it moved him from the Buffalo Depot to the Albany Depot. And that's how I ended up in the greater Albany area. Now, I grew up way out in the middle of nowhere in a town of 900 people. But the closest town that anybody would know is Albany, and that's why I say I'm from Albany.
Okay. But you actually live in Troy?
That's where our headquarters is. I live in a town called Latham, which is just a suburb. But yeah, the Rogue Risk headquarters is Troy, New York, which is used to be the third richest town back in the 1700s. It was known for its manufacturing, early 1800s, and was actually one of the wealthiest cities in all of America at a certain time. It is not any longer.
Huh. How do you know that stuff about your ancestry?
I have a very neurotic nature for understanding things. So obviously there are certain cliches that come along with being Irish. So I got very into like, what is that about? Like, are we really Irish? A lot of people say that they're a certain nationality or whatever, and they're not. Or they're just a mix. And look, I fully embrace the mutt heritage of Americans. I think it's what makes us amazing is that I think that the fact that today we are like resegregating ourselves into all these groups, I think is fucking insane. Like we're Americans, and I love that, and I love that we're this mixing pot, and I wish that we embraced it more. But I wanted to know, like, how Irish are we? What is the fact that I tend to, my default position is passionate and fast and emotional, and is that because of my Irish heritage? Is it just because of who I am? Is it because of So I got really into it and found kind of where we're from in Ireland and learned about. I have pictures of my great grandfather and my uncle served in World War II. I learned a lot. Both my aunt and uncle were both Buffalo City police officers, or I think one was West Seneca and one was Buffalo. But so it just interests me. I like to know why things work. I've always wanted to know about myself, and I think our heritage, is a big part of it. There's if you dive into, if anyone is interested in this stuff, and you dive into some of the ideas around generational thinking and generational impact, one of the things that you'll read about, and you can believe this or not believe it, I tend to, is that we carry the trauma from the last 3 generations, and we pass our trauma on to the next 3 generations. So, I firmly believe that one of the downfalls of our current society is secularism and materialism and narcissism and things like that. We think that 1, there's nothing bigger than us, and that 2, we're the most important thing in the world. That's kind of our current culture, or at least I think the problems associated with our current culture. And when we start to think generationally, both how we're impacted by the generations that came before us and how we impact the generations that will come after us, I think it helps us frame and prioritize and have a little perspective around what we do every day. And it is a big part of my work, of how I act, how I talk, the way that I express myself, the things that I hold dear, the standards that I hold myself to, is that I want to make good on the things that prior generations did to put me in a position to be where I am today. And I want to help both my children and the generations that come after them. I want to do things that help put them in a better position to be successful, find meaning, purpose, happiness in their life long term. So I'm not just thinking about this moment, what makes me feel good. I'm thinking about how to, obviously every single thought I have every day isn't this large. But the idea is, can you live a life worth that respects the generations before you and sets the generations that come up after you for success? And that's where all this comes from.
Huh. Wow. I actually did some genealogy research, and I found a little aunt of mine, like second or third aunt, who had done all the research for me. So she just sent it all to me. I'm like, okay, Luxembourg. Okay, the country of Luxembourg. Liechtenstein is the other one.
That's pretty cool.
So Irish, how much are you? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm like in the 70s.
Wow.
Like 70%. I mean, obviously you don't know exactly.
You're a true live leprechaun.
Not exactly. I mean, an American
Right,
is
right.
about is an American Irish. But yeah, my dad is almost 100% Irish. Irish as much as you can be. There's, there was a lot of mixing back in, we'll call it the old country, but like for the most part, very Irish. And then my mom has a little bit of German in her and a little bit of English. So, which makes a lot of sense just because those regions mixed quite a bit. So, but yeah, I'm pretty, most of my roots come from Ireland.
Okay. I'm right across the pond from you. My dad used to tell me I'm a Duke's mixture. That was the term he used, which is Scottish, and then on my mom's side, German and Polish a little bit. But he was Scottish, my dad's side. So somehow or another, he termed me a Duke's mixture because supposedly Duke is like, you're part of the royalty and all that, but I don't think there's any of that. It used to kid all the time. Remember back in the days when they had CB radios in your trucks and cars?
Yep.
So way back, this is when I was a kid, right? They had CB radios, and my dad's handle, your thing called a nickname was called a handle. So that's who you called yourself, what you called yourself. And my dad's was Stonewall, because if you knew who Stonewall Jackson was, that was a nickname for one of our presidents, Andrew Jackson. So supposedly I was a descendant of Andrew Jackson, but I found out later that was bullshit. I'm not. There's no president in my lineage, no U.S. president in my lineage. So, but he used to make that up his name was Russell. That was his name, and that's my middle name. And he always used to tell me, I named you Russell in case you didn't like Jackson and became famous in Hollywood. You could just go by David Russell. So my dad had all these bullshit stuff that he'd make up. Duke's mixture was one of them. So anyway, there you go.
I like the term.
Yeah, I mean it sounds cool, so I'm gonna stick with it.
Yeah, it does sound cool.
So let's go back. So you're from the state of New York. You went to high school. Did you go to college?
Yep, University of Rochester.
Rochester. Okay, 4 years there. What'd you major in?
Math.
Serious? I love math. I'm like a math geek, like total.
Really?
Geek. Oh, dude, I could read you pi and I could do math in my head, and I don't even need calculators. It's a crazy thing. My son's an engineer, and he's like, Dad, I got the math from you. So I just decided, be an engineer, that just makes common sense. So he did go the right direction. That was a smart move.
Yeah. I hate math, but I'm good at it. So I just wanted to graduate. Like, I envy the people who had this grand design for college. College for me was a way to get out of the shitty little town that I grew up in. Like, I grew up in a crap hole town, and I hated every second of living there. And all I thought about, as soon as I became old enough to have these thoughts, so say 14, 15, 16, my only thought was, what do I have to do to get out of here so I can never come back? I never wanted to go back. And college was the only way out. And I got into college. I mean, I had good grades in high school. I mean, I was like, high honor roll and stuff. I mean, I was a good student. But I wasn't like I didn't wake up yearning for it. My parents weren't pushing college. The day I came home and said, I think I'm going to go to college, Mom was like, great. I mean, there was no expectation or whatever. And so how I chose my college, it's funny. I envy people who have these grand designs. I think it's amazing, and I don't mean envy in a negative way. I mean, I think it's wonderful when people think I want to go to this school and here's why and this great program and professors and blah blah. I think that's amazing. That's not how I chose how to go to school. I was good at math and I was good at engineering and science, so I applied to the engineering school to every college within 5 hours of my house who also had a Division II or Division III baseball program.
I was going to say,
I sent every one of those
into it, yeah.
Yeah, so I sent every one of those college coaches my transcript from high school and a cassette tape of me hitting a baseball. And I sent along a letter. The letter was, said whatever, but the basically TLDR of that, too long didn't read, of that letter was, I am going to go to whichever school gives me the most money to come play there. I'm a poor kid from the country. I don't have money to go to college. My parents aren't paying for college. So whoever gives me the most money is going to get a 6'3" power hitting catcher. And, I'm not going to hurt your grade point average. And I got offers from every single school to varying degrees, which is cool. There was like 17 schools that accepted me. And University of Rochester gave me the best package. So that's where I went.
Any D1
I went there. What?
Any D1 schools?
No, I didn't have the foot speed for D1. It's funny today. I am probably twice as. What?
Catchers don't need foot speed.
Yeah, if you play Division I, you do. You have to be able to hit certain time trials and different stuff like that. But so there's, look, I went to 3 pro tryouts, so I know for a fact, kind of what the characteristics are that they're looking for. Even the slow ass catchers that you see on in the major leagues, where you're like, that guy's slow. That guy's faster than every other regular human being. So he might look slow on TV because he's running next to Ronald Acuna Jr., but he's fast in life. Right. So like, so the, that was how I, there was no like, I can't wait to go to the University of Rochester. In fact, the University of Rochester was probably the antithesis of the type of school I would have wanted to go to, but they gave me the most money, so that's where I went.
So what was your college lifetime batting average?
Just below 400. I hit like 380 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a good hitter.
That's respectable.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have played better. I drank way too much.
Well, I don't think everybody knows this, but in college, especially smaller colleges, there's a ton of 400 hitters. Everybody thinks, 400, that's not reachable.
Yeah, you're playing with metal bats.
There's a ton of 400 hitters. 300 hitter is barely average. So just so you know, folks.
Yeah.
400 is good. Don't get me wrong. That's pretty good. But it's not like you're like, number 1 draft pick, in the amateur draft. No.
Yeah, again, and it's Division III. So, the big difference between Division III and Division I is not the hitters, it's the pitching. Yeah. That's really the defining difference, is that and really maybe like defense a little bit. The hitters, you get incredible hitters up and down. And if you look at an MLB draft, you'll get a lot of Division III hitters that'll get picked up in the later rounds. But the pitching is the big difference. So where, if you went and played for a Division I school, you're looking at low to mid 90s every day with every pitcher. Right. We'd face occasionally like a number 1 pitcher, a number 2 pitcher may touch that high, but maybe even for like an inning or two. And then once you got into the relief pitchers or the number 3, number 4 pitcher in a rotation, you were looking at mid to low 80s, and that's a completely different ball game. Right. So I enjoyed it. If I had taken it more seriously earlier, I probably could have been better. Like I said, I got 3 pro looks. I got invited to 3 pro camps. Made it to the second day every time, but got cut, obviously. And I just didn't take it seriously enough. I drank a lot. We would watch the radar to see if it was going to rain and, to decide if we could drink the night before or whatever. And it was Division III baseball. We had a great time. It was a great group of guys, friends I've had for my entire life. But if I were being candid, at 42, there's a big part of me that wishes I had taken that time in my sports career much more seriously, because I probably could have made it to minor leagues. I don't think I could have ever been a pro, but I probably could have got a cup of coffee in the minors for a little while, which would have been fun. It would have been an experience I would have liked to have had.
So, radar drunk. That's what you call it. Okay.
Yeah. So how this works for people that don't know, and anyone who's played outdoor Division III sports knows exactly what I'm about to say. But like, you would watch the Doppler radar and all the underclassmen, and we'd all like get around whoever's computer we were at, and as a team, we'd be watching the radar, trying to be little weathermen, figuring out, is it going to rain and is the game going to be canceled so we can get hammered tonight? And, and then, you would when you're a freshman, you're waiting for the seniors to tell it you okay, and when it's your turn to be a senior, you got to make the call and go, it's gonna rain, let's go, and then you'd go out and get bombed. So like, that's fun and a funny story. But in terms of like being a successful athlete, that is, that's not how you do it.
That's John Belushi acting right there.
Yeah.
So out of college, first job.
Our college first job was I worked for a company that purchased lottery annuities.
What?
I was an analyst for them.
Lottery annuities. So the big winners.
So when you win the lottery, you have two. Yeah, when you win the lottery, you have two options. You can take the lump sum, or you can take payments. And a lot of people will say take the payments. That's a stupid idea, because when you do the cost value of money, the 20 years from now, the dollar is worth 23% less than it was 3 years ago. Right. So like if you take let's say you win $1 million and you get $50,000 a year for 20 years, one, you're taxed based on the current year's tax rates. You're assuming that, the Democrats aren't going to continue to push your tax rate up every year. And also the cost of money. So over time, as we continue to inflate our currency, the value of the dollar goes down. I know we're getting into economic principles here, but like, so that dollar 20 years from now might be worth 15% of what it's worth today. So take the lump sum, invest the money, you're way better off. But if you take the payments, there are companies out there that will pay you a lump sum to buy portions of or the entire payment stream. And that's how they make their money. They bake that in. Now you get a substantially reduced rate than you do if you take it from the lump sum from the lottery. And I worked for a company that I was on this again, because of my math degree, I was on the analytics side of that. It was terrible work. I have to, I'm going to have to answer for it at the gates of St. Peter, when he's asking me about the things that I did in my life, because it was horrible work.
He already knows.
But it got me to Washington, D.C., which is where all my friends were post-college after I graduated, which is where I wanted to be. So I did that for about 9 months, and then I ended up going and being a consultant for a company called RSM McGladrey, which at the time was the 5th largest accounting firm in the country, and I did that for 4 years. That was, really where I was post-college.
So are you like most everybody I've ever talked to in my illustrious career? I stumbled upon the insurance industry.
Yeah, it was the dowry for my ex-wife's hand in marriage is basically what it was.
So work for the father-in-law.
Yeah. So we were, I had asked him if it was okay if I married his daughter. He gave me his blessing. And a couple months later at a Christmas party, he pulled me out of that party into his office at the house. And this is like out of a mafia movie. We're both sitting in high leatherback chairs. His son, my brother-in-law, is standing over his right shoulder. And they kind of make me an offer I can't refuse. Come sell insurance for the agency. And, I think he didn't want his daughter to be married to a bum, or he wanted to keep his eye on me or whatever. But that's, we had been living in New York City at the time. I was working for American Express. That job was kind of a nothing burger. I was M18K or something like that. I was just a number in a, 50,000, 100,000 person company. How many people worked there? And it was just work. I didn't love it at all. So when we decided to move home from New York City back to Albany, this seemed like a good opportunity, and I'm glad I did it. It changed the course of my life.
Cool. Good for you. So how long were you at the father-in-law's agency?
8 years.
He was a commercial or independent broker?
Yep. So it was when I joined, it was called the Guilderland Agency, which is the town that it's in. It transitioned to the Murray Group, which is the name today. And they're a very kind of classic cliche agency. I mean, incredibly well run. I don't mean cliche in a negative sense at all. 60-40 personal commercial, maybe more like 70-30 now. A little bit of life, a little bit of health. Work within 50 miles. A lot of referrals. Been there for almost 50 years now. So very kind of classic independent agency.
Cool. So what caused you to leave there? Father-in-law kick you out, or did you just leave on your own accord?
No, it was more my brother-in-law at the time. I just wasn't a great fit. I want to push and grow and try new things and move into new markets and test stuff and break stuff and fix stuff. And, they had a cash cow. If you just showed up, asked for referrals, and they do a great job. This is not me knocking them. It's just a different model. I please don't take this as negative. I don't mean it to be negative. People have assumed that when I say this, I'm saying it like I disagree. I don't disagree. It's not me. I am not a peacetime general. You do not hire me if you want everything to stay steady and calm. That is not when you bring me in, because I'm going to fuck shit up. Like, you bring me in when you want to grow, when there are problems, when there are things that need to be fixed, when you need somebody who's okay getting punched in the head 100 times and is going to keep moving forward. Like, that's when you bring me in. And that wasn't what they wanted, and it wasn't what they needed, frankly. I think we could have done amazing things. I think that agency had the potential to have today. I think that if they had embraced some of what I wanted to do, I think we could have multiple locations. I think we could be a regional power. But they didn't need it, didn't want it, and which is perfectly fine. And I was essentially asked in a nice way to find another opportunity. So while in my more bitter moments, I will say that I was fired. I wasn't technically fired, but I was asked to find something more suitable. Or it was strongly suggested that I do so. Which is when
what I was just going to ask, what was it you found that was suitable?
That's when I became the chief marketing officer of TrustedChoice.com, where I founded Agency Nation, which was another life-changing opportunity. For 4 years, I did exactly what I love to do. I helped agents. I created media, created experiences, education, connection. I was doing some of my favorite work that I've done in my life at that time. Growing Agency Nation is one of the things that I'm the most proud of that I've ever done professionally. We went from 0 to 500,000 audience members in less than 4 years. We put on 2 very successful conferences, Elevate 2017 and 2018. I think Elevate 2017 really redefined the insurance event genre. And that was an amazing time. I mean, we were creating videos and narratives and telling people stories. And, we were, at the time, we're doing close to 40,000 downloads a month on our podcast when there weren't 10 bazillion podcasts. And it was really a transformational time. We were fighting against the insurtech, revolution, I guess too, in 2016 when all these insurtechs came out, and really we were a big part of the counter narrative to all these independent agents are going to go out of business because of technology. And I'm very proud of that work. Unfortunately, the national big I did not like me at all, and did not like my way, thought that I was trying to subvert them. They thought that these are all narratives they made up in their head, because to be honest with you, I was happy as hell. I was a chief marketing officer of a company I believed in, doing work I believed in, and enjoying every day. And they somehow got it in their head that I wanted something that I didn't want. Never talked to me about it, just basically started pushing me out, and then fired me. So that was an eye-opening experience. I then became the chief marketing officer of Bold Penguin, which was interesting. I got to see the other side. Bold Penguin is now very agent-friendly, but at the time was not. They very much were a competitor. I did not realize that when I took the job. And it was just a lot of friction in there from day one. It was not what I wanted to do. I did not feel like we were serving the independent agency channel. And I did not want to be part of a technology company that was going to compete against independent agents. That's just not what I believe in. My whole mantra is human optimized. I love technology that supports and empowers agents. But I have no problem with competitor technology. I just didn't want to work in that place. And, so that wasn't really a good fit. A lot of friction there. And eventually I was again kind of, though I technically was not fired, it was strongly suggested that I find another opportunity. And I thought maybe it was just insurance, which maybe it still is, who knows. But I thought I just wasn't a great fit for insurance. I thought
at that time,
my personality, my disposition, what I want, how I push, my willingness to just be the way that I am, I just thought it was I thought it was that. And also, I have been traveling so much that I need to give my spouse a break. So I took a job as a CEO of a local fitness franchise here in the greater Albany area. They had 6 locations. I'd worked out there for 5 years. And the founder of that company came to me and said, "Hey, I know you're looking, you're looking for something. I'm a gym guy. I've kind of taken this business as far as I can take it. I would like to keep working on the gym stuff, but I need someone who's business minded to come in and help me grow it." And he had very big plans and wanted to regional and then maybe national franchise, stuff like that. I was like, I love fitness and I enjoyed the workout. So I thought this was great. And for 9 months, it was great. In 9 months, I grew that fitness franchise with the help of my team from 2,100 members to over 3,000 members. We added, we had shovels in ground for 2 new locations. Our brand had more impressions than some national brands. We were just dominating, and it was awesome. And I thought, for the most part, everything was good. I was waiting. It was 8:30 in the morning on a Monday for a standing meeting that I had with the founder just to kind of kick the week off. I'm sitting there in full, the cool part about being the CEO of a fitness business is you show up to work in Lululemon every day, and part of your job is to work out with the members at noon. So it was awesome. So I'm sitting there waiting for our meeting, and he comes in a suit with his attorney, sits down, goes, "You've done an amazing job, but you're my biggest expense in the business, you've done a great job, but the business is fun again, and you're my largest expense. Have a nice day." And pushed a termination letter across the table. So that was like 4 things in a row that just didn't work. And
perfect segue to my next question, because I have this all lined up. So, trusted choice, Agency Nation, you absolutely loved it, you killed it, and from an outsider looking in, you and Sid and Joy, you guys had it rocking, man. That's how I felt, and then it just kind of exploded, and then and then you're like trying to find yourself. So my next question is, road risk. Have you found yourself?
Yeah, yes and no. I'd say, look, I believe in the concepts of it. It's been a wonderful experience. I'm in the, so to kind of finish the story here, I walk out and I felt like the universe was telling me I needed to start my own thing. And I had, through all the conversations in the insurance industry that I'd had, all the years of speaking and going to events and the trusted choice stuff and the Agency Nation stuff, I'd talked to people up and down the industry, and I got to see the whole other side of the industry in Bold Penguin and all my great friends and connections in the industry. I mean, I've had tens of thousands of conversations with people.
I know, I was
and
one
I had
of
this
them.
idea, and I had this idea of human optimized, right? This term in my head, human optimized agency, an agency that used technology to highlight the humans, not to replace the humans. And there's more to it, but that popped into my head, and I started working on that concept. And in March 9th of 2020, 7 days before the zombie apocalypse hit upstate New York, I launched Rogue Risk, and grew that through COVID. Grew Rogue Risk. And in April of 2022, we were acquired in full by SIA. And I stayed on as the founder and president of Rogue Risk, which is what I do today, day to day. And I am currently in the earn-out period of that time. So we're still growing. We figured out a process that works. Our inbound process is essentially a self-fulfilling machine at this point. And that's kind of what we do day to day now.
So I read your bio, and it says 300,000 businesses, small businesses, by the year 2030. That's still a goal?
Yeah. Well, it's a goal for Rogue. We'll see if I'm there when that happens. But I certainly think that it's possible. Our model is think of it like a tumbler system. Or if any of you have ever watched the show Gold Rush, right? If you've seen Gold Rush, there's these things called shaker decks. And essentially what they do is they strip mine the land, and they have these huge buckets of dirt, and they put the dirt in the top, And then through a series of like pressure washing and filtering systems and shaking, it filters out the gold into these trays where they actually catch it. Our process works very similar. So we have, through technology and a clearly defined process that we work the team through, essentially a shaker system, a shaker deck. And the process, and then the goal of our kind of marketing and business development team, which I'm part of, is just putting as much opportunity into the top and then letting the system shake out the leads, and the team just closes. So as many opportunities as we can get in the top, we can pump out, massive amounts of volume with a relatively small team and a relatively inexpensive technology stack. We can rip through accounts. I mean, we have, we did 100 accounts a couple months ago in 1 month, right, commercial accounts. This is all commercial, just so everyone knows. Right. We're not doing personal lines. You could do more with personal lines. Although, I know everyone wants to talk about, I hate personal lines personally, but I don't want to get into that argument, but it's not for me. But in commercial lines, so we have a system that works. It's just continuing to put volume in the top, and it's been very successful, and we continue to grow every month, and it's a good thing.
Did you ever see yourself cloning that and offering that same system to others?
Yeah, someday. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what SIA wants to do with it. I mean, I hope that someday they take it and at a minimum, obviously the ideas and concepts are mine, but the system that we've put in place in the technology stack is SIA's. And my hope is that someday they take that and clone it at a minimum to SIA members, because I think that a lot of SIA members could get a tremendous amount of value from what we, look, I've made every mistake that could possibly be made. So when I talk about shit, I'm not talking about it from theory. This isn't stuff that I read and just think is a good idea. Like, you would be hard pressed to find a way of getting business in the door that I have not tried. And some of it is I'm not good at it or I don't love it. And some of it is that it just doesn't work the way people would hope that it worked. So I feel like we found at least one process that is scalable and can contribute to very substantial and consistent growth for agencies if they adopt it. I will tell you, it takes work, it takes discipline, and most of the people who are listening to this are probably lazier than they want to admit and have almost no discipline, so it might not work for them. But for those who do have a strong work ethic and are disciplined, adopting the one call close process that I've described in other places will absolutely positively work for you every single time, regardless of your geographic region, your niche, what business you're going after, etc. And if you tell me, Ryan, my area, we write farmers and farmers don't go on the internet. Well, I'll tell you, I have a very, very good buddy of mine, Gordon Coyle, who is in his 60s, so don't tell me it's how old you are, who, I have taught how to do this, and he crushes E&O and D&O insurance for venture capital firms.
Wow.
Through this exact process. So like, that is not a class of business that anybody out here would assume would come in through the internet and would be able to, be highly successful in writing it, using this inbound process. So, those are all just fear-based excuses, not reality.
Yeah, no, I agree. So along the way, you created Hanley Media. You do a lot of speaking engagements and in-person speeches, keynotes, addresses, and all that. Still doing that today, as much as you'd like, or scale it back some?
I took a little break. Obviously, COVID, nothing happened.
Right.
And I have not ramped it back up to full speed after COVID. It is probably the next phase of my career will be doing more of that kind of stuff. It's where I feel the most alive. It's where I feel I can add the most value to people. I absolutely love it. when you think about things that you're naturally drawn to pursuing excellence in, that is one of the things, writing, communicating, helping people, and particularly speaking on stage to live audiences or doing, workshops, etc. It's where I feel the most alive professionally. So I want to do more of it. I will. I'm starting to take on dates. I have to be careful both with timing and with how much I do because I have 2 young kids is the problem. Sure. So part of my issue in not wanting to spread myself too thin is that I have a 9 and a 7-year-old. I am divorced. My time with them is very important to me. I only see my kids half the time that I saw them 2 years ago, which, is not something that I love. And I need to be very careful about where I spend my time. However, I am trying to take on more dates, depending on when it is, the timing, where particular. And I don't necessarily have like if it's here or here, I will say yes or no. But I just have to be thoughtful around their baseball season and some of the various things that are important to them because as much as I love what I do and I love speaking, that will always be there. These golden years with my kids will not always be here. So I'm going to always prioritize that time with them over a speaking gig.
Thank you for recognizing that. As a parent and a father of a baseball player, I can tell you there is no fonder memories you will have. No question. Number 2 memory is not even close to the memories you'll have with your kids.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah,
so, we're told that. We're all told that, and at the time you hear it, but I got to pay the bills, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and everything else, and I want to be set for retirement and everything else. But man, the time you get to spend with your kids, believe me, it is short, way shorter than you think. And at 9 and 7, you're right in the prime.
Yeah, so when the kids were younger and I was traveling so much, both with Agency Nation and Bold Penguin, I was on the road 2 to 3 times a month, if not more, sometimes multiple cities. I mean, they were young, but I missed a lot of time with them. And I was given very good advice by a mentor of mine about 5 years ago. He said, regardless of whether you're feeling good or bad, happy, sad, excited, or depressed, he said, go find a counselor and meet with that counselor every other week for the rest of your life. Just make it a life expense. Just somebody to talk to. And I've done that for 5 years now. It's helped me get through a whole bunch of situations. But more importantly, that time helps you frame what really matters. It helps you frame how you want to live your life. And, it's a cliche, but it's so very true. What you say doesn't mean shit. It matters what you do.
Yeah.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
So if I tell my kids that they're the most important thing to me in the world,
doesn't matter.
And then I'm on the road 4 weeks a year or 4 weeks in a month and I'm not around, what all they're learning is that what you say doesn't matter. Yep. So, that's something that I've really, and look, I am not trying to pretend like I am perfect or that this was some sort of like,
don't apologize.
This is learned. This is learned stuff. So, and I'll give you the example of this. So I have, even though my kids are young, I talk to them like they're adults. I don't talk to them like they're babies. The world is hard. The world will kick you in the gut over and over and over again and doesn't care. The universe doesn't care about us. It will mow us down if we let it. What we have to do is push back. I think we are developing an entire generation of people who are weak. We call 25-year-olds children. They're not children. They're adults. They've been adults for a very long time, probably for a decade. And I try to teach my kids what the real world is like. Because I've experienced the real world outside of, say, war. And so I talk to them like they're real people. And I talk to them about hard concepts. And I got a taste of that work this summer. So my son, for the last 3 years, even though he's young, has played on the A travel team for our town for baseball for 3 years. And this last season, going from his 9-year-old year to his 10-year-old year, he got cut from the A team and moved to the B team. There's some nuance around that. Again, a lot of it was probably my fault. The head coach thought that I was coming for his head coaching position, which is fucking crazy because I coached first base every game for 3 years and didn't want to be the head coach because that's a terrible position. Everyone just yells at you and you have to deal with the money and the umpires and whatever. But he thought that I was coming for his job, and he cut my son. My son was the starting second baseman for all 3 years and the number 3 pitcher. So I say that not to brag on my son because his issue was he wasn't a great hitter. He had the lowest batting average on the team. But he wasn't a bad player, and he had a great glove, and he could pitch, and he's a good player. He should be on that team. Doesn't matter. So when we found out that he got cut, after I called the guy a chicken shit cunt and told him that he should go fuck himself, I had that moment, not my best moment, I admit, composed myself, and I walked in my son's room and told him. And he cried, and we hugged each other and cried, and that probably lasted 5 or 10 minutes, and that was very, very difficult. But then he kind of stepped back from me, and he goes, "So I'm going to be on the B team?" And I said, "Yeah, you're going to be on the B team." And he goes, "Okay, that's great." He goes, "I kind of hated playing for him anyway, so I think I'm going to be fine." And then you know what he did? So that was great, right? That was such a great moment for me. That he didn't take that, right? He took it as, and it wasn't like whatever. It was like, okay, this is the next thing. You know, this is my new reality. It wasn't like I don't care, because he does care. Like he is motivated. And he showed me that by this kid goes to the batting cages now 3 days a week. He is leading this B team in average. He's hitting almost 800 for the fall. And he's the number 1 pitcher on the team. He hasn't given up a run in his last 12 innings, and he has 2 strikeouts at a minimum in every one of those innings. Right. So, like, a lot of, I just am such a proud dad, regardless of what happens in his baseball career. You know, I don't think he's going to be a pro. I'm not one of those dads. I just love that he's enjoying it, and I care about the life lessons. So when I look at that, you know, I say, my son has seen me working hard at the gym, working hard here, being present with them, trying to be a good co-parent with their mother. Like, you know, trying to, you know, like trying to live this life that I'm really proud of. And I believe, at least in part, because I live that life as hard as it is. And there's days when I sit in that friggin' chair over there and I cry because of different things that I can't control or I don't understand or whatever, right? Like, life fucking happens. But to my kids, I show them exactly how I wish that I had been shown how to live. And when he got cut, the way he has approached it, he could have gone 0 for the season. I couldn't be more proud of him because he's putting in the work. He has a goal, and he looks now at that blue team. He's like, I don't want to play for that. The blue team's the A team. He's like, I don't want to play for that team. He goes, I want to play for this team that's even better for them. He goes, next year I want to try out for this it's like a regional travel team. He's like, that's the team I want to be on. He's like, fuck this little community team coached by dads. He's like, I want to be on the team where the players play. And that's what he's playing for. And it's just impressive. It's impressive. But the only way we get there is we can't be lazy shits and then expect our kids to be better than us. That's not the way that it works. Going all the way back to the beginning around generational thinking. How you act. If you eat potato chips and hot dogs and cheeseburgers and guzzle beers and you're a slob, your kids are going to see that, right? They're not going to, just because you go work hard doesn't mean they're going to look at you. What are you doing? They can't even hear you. How many times have you asked your kids to pick up a mess? They don't hear you. They have filters on their ears for our voices. You know what I mean? They don't hear what we're saying, but they see everything we say. We do. They see everything.
So the lesson you learned, I'm sorry to interrupt. The lesson you learned here was that you actually did, you and your his mom did a good job parenting because he made an excellent decision.
Yeah. And to give his mother credit, she and I were not meant to be married. We're just different people, but we get along. We get along very well. And as co-parents, I think we do a very good job. She's a great mother. They learn a lot of things from her that they wouldn't learn from me. And I think we do a good job. So I don't want to act like it's just me. She's a very hard worker. She, her and her twin sister basically run the Murray Group now and continue to grow that place and do a great job. So she's a hard worker too, and they learn from her. I don't want to act like it's just me, but yeah, I think this goes for everything, dude. So take it out of parenting. Your team, right? You have people that work for you, and then we can close with this.
Yeah, I got two questions to wrap it up.
Yeah, your team sees what you do. If you're off golfing 3 days a week, you can't be pissed when your team doesn't make the extra call.
No.
Can't be pissed. No. You paying them a salary is not, that's bullshit. There's too many options in today's world. It used to be like, well, I pay them, so they should do what I say. No, fuck that. They are going to watch what you do. It doesn't mean you can't go golfing, and it doesn't mean that at a certain point in your career, you haven't earned the right to have a little more leeway in your life, especially if you're the one who built the thing. I completely get that. I'm not knocking that. But what I'm saying is, if you're overindulgent, they will be too. And we have to consider these things and be a little cognizant of it.
You're teaching them. Yeah, absolutely. 2 questions to wrap this up, Ryan. Or Hanley, sorry.
It's fine.
In the industry, the insurance industry, whose call do you always answer?
I don't want to cut anybody out because there's probably
hard,
multiple, but I'll give you 3 names. Okay. Matt Namoli, Chris Paradiso, and Mick Hunt. If any one of those 3 people call me, I am picking up every time. Cass, because I never know what that crazy fucker is going to say. I'm developing a wonderful relationship with Daniel Seung, and I have started to really enjoy every moment that I spend with him. Carruthers is a great buddy. I'll be honest with you, this industry, Dave, has given me so many amazing friends, colleagues, people that I respect, even if I don't know them that well. I try to pick up as many calls as I can because there's just, dude, I'm sitting here and like, I was just able to buy a house by myself. I'm in an apartment right now because it's only been 2 years since we got divorced, so I'm still in apartment transitional, but I'll be moving in a house soon. But like, I live in a great apartment. I live in a nice community. My kids have a nice life. Like, I grew up in shit. And my parents did the best they could. I have so much respect for them because they came from even worse, right? They came from nothing. So they got us a little farther. And like, but this industry took my lineage to a whole nother level. To a level that I couldn't imagine, a jump that I couldn't have imagined. So I try to give back to the industry, to the people in it, as much as I possibly can. I try to pick up as many calls as I can, answer as many DMs, whether it's on, people DM me on Instagram and LinkedIn all the time, Facebook, and I try to answer and respond to every single one of those as best I can because I just appreciate what this industry gave me, and I want to give back to it even more.
Cool. Good answer. Last question. Who's your World Series pick and why?
Oh, I could care less.
You don't have
Yankees
a dog in the
out,
hunt?
So who cares?
But you know who's playing.
I was hoping for Atlanta because I really love Ronald Acuna Jr. I love the way he plays. So I was hoping Atlanta would be in there. Yeah, but when Atlanta got booted, I kind of just stopped watching. I mean, there's a lot of great players, great teams, and we'll probably turn it on. But at this point, it's Bills season. It's Buffalo Bills season. So to be honest with you, I don't even pay attention really to much else unless the Yanks are in it. So, which they're not.
But you're a baseball player. You got to care a little.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch, but I got Little League baseball. I mean, I can't, if I'm ball. 3 days a week doing Little League baseball, turning on a game, I don't know. Plus, I'll tell you, free agency has killed that sport for me. Growing up when the teams were mostly homegrown, Paulie O'Neill gets traded from Cincinnati to the Yankees, and it's like national news. You know what I mean? Like this huge thing that this happened. Now every year it's like this big shuffle job, and I'll be honest with you, I don't love it for that reason. I mean, I love the game. And I do watch the Yanks. Kids go to a game every year, at least, if not more. But my love for Major League Baseball and following it has waned with the free agency.
Yeah.
To me, free agency has killed that sport.
Well, the owners are mostly to blame.
Same with the NBA. This is the same with the NBA. The NBA used to be amazing, and now it's like the WWF or WE to me. I just could care less. It's just whatever. Who cares? They don't play defense until the playoffs. They're always on a different team. All the best players just try to group up and create these super teams or whatever, and who cares? It's still silly.
So you gotta love a story like the Diamondbacks. 110 losses 2 years ago. And so
the Diamondbacks are cool.
They built a team, in 2 years. That's pretty darn good. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, you spend money, you get good players, you got a decent development program, you can put guys on. The problem is next year, most likely, whoever their big free agents are will be gone and gone someplace else.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's a shame. That's the part that breaks me is that there's no reward for the organization to putting a great team together and allowing them grow and build and get old together. There's just, you piece all these pieces together and that's a lot of work. I'm not discounting it. But then next year, someone comes into the higher offer and off they go. And it's like, hey, had a good time, have a nice thing. And it's like, oh, gotcha. You don't actually care.
Right.
You just,
about the money.
They're all just hired guns.
Yeah. No, you don't have to preach to me because I'm old school, man. I've been around since the 60s and the game has changed immensely. The crazy thing to me is people are still willing to pay the money that they do to go watch the sport because they love the sport. Not like you. They don't necessarily love the team, although don't tell Philly fans that. Or they don't love the players because the players come and go. But they just love the sport. So I'm going to show you this right there on my wall. That's the 30 ballparks that I have in my bucket list to visit, and I have 8 left. So, and they're almost all in the Northeast, believe it or not. For some odd reason.
You've never been to Fenway?
Never been to Fenway. Never been to Philly, Detroit. I can list them all. I've been to Yankee Stadium. I've not been to the Mets. I've been to Baltimore and D.C., Miami, Atlanta, and not Atlanta. I haven't been there. So most of them are in the Northeast for whatever reason.
Well, Fenway's amazing.
Yep.
Too bad you didn't make it to Old Yankee Stadium because the new Yankee Stadium is blah.
Yeah. My son's a Yankees fan. He took me. So it just came later in life after they built it.
Yeah, the new Yankee Stadium. The problem, if you've never seen Old Yankee Stadium, you'd be like, this place is amazing. And it is a great place to watch a game, the new Yankee Stadium. It's a great place to watch a game. But I've probably been to 24 games at Old Yankee Stadium. And I used to say to my dad, you could smell Babe Ruth's piss. You knew, the best to ever play the game walked those halls. They hit from that home plate. They hit the ball over that fence into those bleachers. It was amazing. And just to think, Babe Ruth hit home runs in that batter's box. Right there, Babe Ruth hit home runs. Lou Gehrig, all the best. And the new one's just kind of like a big corporate monster. It's just, it's kind of, doesn't really have much personality.
Yep, that's how the game is.
But then you go to, dude, Fenway's going to blow you away. If you haven't been to Fenway, Fenway is going to blow you away.
I've been to Wrigley, but, that's the next best thing, but I've not been to Fenway. But I'll get there.
Yeah, Wrigley's amazing. Yeah. But, hey, no one wants to listen to this crap anyways.
Are you kidding me? This will be probably our highest ratings yet. So appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. If anybody wants to just connect with my stuff, you can always go to Rogue Risk and just check out what we're doing there. Or if you're interested in, I have a newsletter, I have a podcast as well. Both are unique content, so you don't get the same content in each one. So pick whatever you want or both. But you can go to ryanhanley.com and find ways to connect with me. And I'm on all the socials. And like I said, happy to help anybody who needs help or a question. Hit me up. I'll do my best in whatever it is that you need help with.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Hanley. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. This is Dave Jackson signing out from Collabcast by IAOA. Enjoy, everybody. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Collabcast with IAOA with Captain Dave Jackson. Production and distribution by Podsquad.fm, Riverside.fm, and Spotify for podcasters. Special thanks to Little Dog Social Media, Terry Champion, and all our guests and listeners. If you're an independent insurance agency owner, please subscribe to our podcast weekly. You can also request to join our agency owner exclusive Facebook group, IAOA, or Insurance Agency Owners Alliance at IAOA.com. Captain Dave Jackson signs out from sunny Hendersonville, Tennessee.